Good morning. How y'all doing? Y'all good? This side wins the award for more people than the middle of the right. Nathan walked in and he said, it seemed like the ships laid over just a little bit. Time and people are traveling and enjoying the family and gone. My mom and dad are there in Colorado right now visiting my sister. She just had a baby last year. It's crazy, but she turned 1 Saturday, so it's a crazy picture to see my sister having a child, and it's crazy. I know my brother has 3, but it's wild just to see pictures of her growing up. First off, bear with me. This is the first time I've preached with braces on. I know I've mentioned this before, but I know I lisp, and I already struggle with speaking already because I slur my words, so I'm trying to. Shelby's been helping me pronunciate better. So it's been funny. I've been going over with Shelby with something. She's like, you just need to slow down and practice on your R's and your S's. So I'm super excited to have the privilege and honor to preach this Sunday morning. I haven't actually stood in front of people since I think it was at the end of July when we started transitioning, starting down there to up here, and we've been up here with Nathan on Wednesday nights, going through the Bible. And when Nathan asked me about 2 weeks ago if I could preach, and I was really excited. I'm still a little nervous, but I'm real tickled to be here and just to preach God's word. I'm going to pray and then we'll begin. Father God, thank you for this morning. God, thank you again for allowing me to be your vessel. God, just be with me as I preach your word. God, thank you for this church and what they mean to me. In your name I pray. Amen. All right, so we will be in Philippians chapter 2, verses 19 through 30. Chapter 2, 19 through 30. Before we jump into the scriptures, has anybody ever had someone teach you a trade that you still use to this day? Raise your hand if you have someone that taught you a trade, taught you something in your lifetime that you still use to this day, even right. I think for me is my mom teaching me how to push the button on a microwave to heat up Hot Pockets. So that was a great thing that my mom taught me. I know when it comes to work ethics, Austin taught me how to screen print. Michael taught me some, but Austin was pretty much my go-to guy. But for me to be around now, I would say my youth pastor at the time at By Faith, his name is Casey Deaton. He is the one that kind of led me in the direction where gracefully and thankfully where I stand today. And so I owe it all to him, but most importantly, I owe it all to Jesus. And so where we're at today, we're going to be looking at 3 guys, Paul, Timothy, and Epaphroditus. Again, this is a hard word, and I'm going to be saying this a lot. So Epaphroditus, that's his name. All right, so 19 through 30, it says, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, so that I too may be cheered by news of you. For I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. For they all seek their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But you know Timothy's proven worth, how as a son with the Father he has served with me in the gospel. I hope therefore to send him just as I see how it will go with me. And I trust in the Lord that shortly I myself will come also. I have thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and fellow worker and fellow soldier, and your messenger and minister to my need. For he has been longing for you, all has been distressed, because you heard that he was ill. Indeed, he was ill, near to death, but God has mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. I am more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. So receive him in the Lord with all joy and honor, such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me. All right, so we need to understand that Christ wants what's best for us. Having said that, we have to appoint leaders in our lives to help us in that. If you ever read the New Testament, you'll see that Paul can fit into that category very well as a great leader. So in Philippians, Paul was writing to the church at Philippi. So he sent news to them through Timothy and Epaphroditus. Paul trusted them both. Paul chose them because he helped train them up to be disciples. And so I'll give you a little backstory about this. The church at Philippi was the first church Paul founded in Europe. Paul wrote to the Philippians during his imprisonment while on trial in Rome. Paul wanted to pass along some news, and the important news that Epaphroditus had recovered from a serious illness, and that he was sending him to them with the hope that he might be also following him behind with Timothy. Timothy and Epaphroditus were mentioned because they were exemplified the Christ-centered gospel focused like Paul wanted the Philippians to have, and this is where we begin. And so in Philippians 2, we read the reasoning of sending Timothy and Epaphroditus. The letter he is preparing to send them is to call for them to unite in love and humility, as exemplified by Christ's humble service. They are to live as lights in the world, just like faithful servants Timothy and Epaphroditus. And so you got two guys, Timothy and Epaphroditus, going to Philippi, the church of the Philippians, and Paul is sending them with this letter to help the church and help the community to be united in love and humility. And so through this whole journey, we see Timothy and Epaphroditus preparing them. Paul's preparing them to go, and Paul is stating here why he chose Timothy and Epaphroditus. And so Timothy is an example of a service-centered life. And so in verses 19 to 24, Paul's desire to send his protege Timothy highlights the very personal nature of early church life. Timothy emulates Christ in that he is concerned for the Philippians' welfare. He doesn't look out for his own interests, but those for Christ. So again, Timothy is an example of a service-centered life. I'll give you a little backstory. In Paul's first letter to Timothy, he addresses him as my true son in the faith. We first meet Timothy in Acts 16, where Paul is heading out on a second missionary journey. He stops in Lystra to pick up the young disciple who accompanies him, assists him, and serves him as sort of an apprentice under Paul. Timothy's biological father was Greek, but no evidence is ever given that he was a Christian. So Paul, what he does best, fills the shoes of a spiritual father to Timothy. They became co-workers of the labor of faith, and in my opinion, an awesome picture of a great friendship. And so Timothy's and Paul's relationship was not only as friendships, but a brotherly bond, a person I believe that Paul would die for, and I believe Timothy would do the same. And so they love each other very, very well. And so we look at Timothy, so now we look at Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus is as another example of service. When in verses 25 through 30, Epaphroditus, who was from Philippi, is another example of genuine Christian love. He has been longing for the Philippians, just as Paul longs for them, and he has been eager to let them know that God has spared him from his illness. Again, Epaphroditus is as another example of service. And so we look at Epaphroditus and give a little backstory on him. He's from Philippians. He's from Philippi, and that's his, I guess you would say, his hometown. And so they know Epaphroditus very well. Epaphroditus has been gone. He is sick. I'll get to that here in a minute. But he has been ill, but now God has shown mercy upon him, and now he is well. And Epaphroditus is very eager to go back home because Paul states that they're anxious and worried about him. And so they've heard of his illness, and he's being sick, and they're concerned of his health. And I know for me, it's an awesome picture to see that someone is concerned and cares about you. And so they're all worried about him. Two verses I want to stay on for a little bit, and which is in verse 22. It says, Paul 22 says, "But you know Timothy's proven worth, how as a son with a father he has served with me in the gospel. And so Paul confirms again how loyal Timothy is to Christ. Timothy lives it out. He has been doing the work. He has been grinding and grinding, going day in and day out, serving Christ. Through and through. He is, again, Paul trusts him. Paul allows him to carry this message, to carry this letter to the Philippians. And so Paul, again, he allows Timothy to be a part of this journey. And then in verse 27, it states, for Epaphroditus, indeed he was ill, near death, but God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. And so, to die and be with Christ is far better, and yet God shows mercy to Epaphroditus in sparing his life. Christians can be assured that a fellow Christian truly is in Christ's presence upon his or her death. Even so, it is proper on such occasion to feel sorrow upon sorrow. And so, in 28, Paul is reminding them again he wants to send them because they have been anxious on hearing how he is. And so, me preparing this message and allowing God to grant me this privilege to do this, I was real burdened on how to go about choosing and allowing God to choose this for this time. I know last year I preached at the beginning of the new year, and here I am preaching at the end of the year. And so, for us as a church, we're going through stages and changes that are awesome because of the great leaders that are in this church. I believe that where we are today wouldn't be because we wouldn't be here, and where we're going now is because of the vision. I believe Brother Nathan, God has instilled a vision on Brother Nathan, and Nathan is just being that vessel. In my eyes, I see Nathan being that Paul. I see Nathan being that Paul for me and the leaders of the church. And so this is where taking this, and I know Nathan ain't sending us out cross country and on horses or anything, and but getting close. But what I'm getting at is three things. God sends people to us, God sends people out from us, and God sends people back to recover. And I believe what we've read here through 19 through 30 is a clear picture and a clear indication that we just can't sit still. Because Paul had to have people to go do this. Because while Paul was in prison, Paul had to send out people, and Paul had to trust people to do this. And Paul trusted Timothy and Epaphroditus to do this. And so, number one, God sends people to us. Without leaders, the church has no vision. Without servants, we have no one to take grasp of the vision the leaders have. So again, like I said, this year has been a life-changing moment for our church. Big decisions have been made that will affect many years to come. And so the vision has been in place to further the work for Christ. Paul trusted Timothy and Epaphroditus with his life, like I said. We have to uphold that trust like Paul did. We as members of the church, we have a job to do. And that job is very simple. To love Christ and to serve Him. And I think we kind of muddy that up because we tend to get distracted, and we tend to choose what we want to do. But in all reality, if we truly want to follow Christ, He's going to send us out. He's going to send us to do something. But before all that, God sends people to us. I came here 5 years ago, and sitting down with Brother Dennis and Michael and Nathan up in the youth room, and they just asked me a bunch of questions, and Nathan asked me and said, do you have any questions? And I looked at Nathan and I said, what's your vision? What's your vision for the church? And here we are 5 years now, 4 or 5 years later down the road, and we're adding on to the sanctuary, and that's going to be our new building to worship in. And it's crazy. I know some of you weren't here before, and clearly, like Nathan and Austin, Miss Janie, like Perkins and Granny back there, all the charter members that are here, they've seen where it came from 1981 up to present day, and I know I wasn't around then, but it was a struggle then, just as it is now. And I think that struggle is always going to be real, and it's always going to be there. Why? Because it's that focus on grinding and serving the Lord. I know I mentioned about Epaphroditus' illness, and that illness was, he was working. He was working and working, and he was so exhausted about the work and him working for Jesus, working for Christ, is that he exhausted himself. He overexhausted himself to the point where he didn't rest. And so, number one, we're talking about God sends people to us. And number two, God sends people out from us. And so when we live our life for Christ, we can't help but to live for Him. That means that we cannot remain idle. We must go. If it's in the community, if it's in your workplace, if it's in Haiti, we must do something for the work of Christ. It may be something small or it may be something big, but we have a mission. And that mission, again, it can be small or it can be big. It can be painting walls at the church. It can be laying baseboards. It can be cleaning a wall. It can be vacuuming floors. It can be helping someone on the side of the road. It can be multiple things. But we have to understand is that God needs us to do this. We have to be the light of this world. If we're not, it will not continue on to the next generation. I mentioned this multiple times. The kids that are in the church now, if they don't have someone to look up to, then the church will die. It'll become idle, it'll become stagnant, and the building that is now will be gone, and the church will just diminish. And it's our job, it's our responsibility to grow up leaders, for us to have people to come to us and to want to be discipled and allow us just to send them out. I know for me, I'm talking about sending people out from us. We're going on a mission trip to Haiti in spring break coming up real soon, and some of us have never been. My wife's been on multiple mission trips, but for me, I've never been overseas on a mission trip before. It's rather terrifying, actually. I'm not scared of flying. I'm not scared of where I'm going. But the terrifying picture of it is that I'm scared that I'll love it way too much, because to see those kids just cling to you and want to be loved on and want to sing praises and all those things, to see that we're so privileged to where we are now. We don't think of that. We don't think of how privileged we are to have running water or our car in our driveway. This is a funny, not a funny story, but it's a story. I was coming back from Christmas shopping. It was real close to Christmas. Because I procrastinated. And I was coming back, and I was by the intersection where Walmart is, and I had not one, I had two blowouts at the exact same time. I turned around real quick, and I went to the gas station. I heard a pow, and I was like, then I saw my light pop on low tire. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go I need to go put. I was like, I don't know what. I'm just gonna go put air in my tire. So I started putting air in my tire. I just heard. I was like, man, this ain't going nowhere. So I drove it to Young's Tire Center and parked my car there. And now I thought it was the one at the time. He called me that morning and said, man, he had two blowouts. I said, two? He said, yeah. He said, I said, how much is it going to cost? And, he told me the cost, and I was like, man, this is during Christmas. I was like, I don't. So I called Shelby, and she's like, of course. Shelby's like, and I told her, I said, look, it's okay. I said, I have a car. I said, I need you. That'll be my Christmas present. Of course, Shelby, that ain't fair. You got presents under the tree. I said, it's a part of life. I said, it's part of life, and I said, that's just the way it is. But what I'm getting to is that people saw that where I was in my circumstances, and people helped foot the bill of my two tires, and I've never had someone to do that for me, because I've always just grinded it. If it's there, and I'm just going to do it. Like if it has to be paid for, I'm just going to work over it. I'm just going to do it. I just never had anybody just to say, here you go. And to have that is something that I've heard it on a podcast, and he said, right, or whatever it is, if they're giving you something, never deny it, because you're still in their joy. Because that's their gift, is to give, and to have that bestowed upon me. Oh my goodness, I was baffled. But I think that's where we're getting at, is that we have people around us that love us. And I think being part of a church that is growing, and having people that want to serve Christ fully, they're willing to do whatever it takes to help one another, and that's important. I think it's important for us to have a family to love on, and to call up someone that, hey, I need you to pray for me, or this is what happened. You're not asking for anything, but people are always willing to do whatever it takes for you, and I think that's important. It's important because honestly, if I was in a situation where I could help someone out, I would. I believe that I would. Except for Ronnie when he was on the side of the road. Ronnie broke down Wednesday night over here, and I drove right past him, and I was like, is Ronnie's vehicle? I said, no, I don't know Ronnie. Ronnie came from church. I said, right over here, broke down, because he had a blowout. And I was like, oh God, I felt so bad. But his brother was with him, so I apologize. So anyway, it was funny. So yeah, and so God sends people to us to help us to be discipled, and God sends people out from us. I think us coming into the church and learning from each other and being part of the community and being discipled and allowing us just to grow and learn from each other, you can't help not to serve. So that means that you've got to go. We've got to go out, and we've got to use what God gives us. If it's helping someone with a blowout, do it. If it's buying someone's food, buying their meal, just do it. If it's calling them up and talking to them and just being an ear, do it. I know it's important for me to have the things in my life, and I believe it would be important for y'all to have that. As church family is important to me, and I hope it's important to y'all. And so God sends people to us, God sends people out from us, and lastly, God sends people back to recover. Like I said about Epaphroditus, again, this is my favorite part, is because Epaphroditus was sick and now healthy. He wants to return home to the Philippians to let them know that he is okay. They are genuinely concerned about him. They love him, and they were stressing about his health. And so Epaphroditus wanted to go home. He wanted to let them know that he was well. Epaphroditus wanted them to be filled with joy on his return, but the return was all Christ. He made Epaphroditus well again, and so Christ allowed him to return home and to be surrounded by people that love him. And so through the work and through the work that we do for Christ, we will get exhausted. We'll get tired, not tired of the gospel, but tired from the work. Any work that you do can tire you. So if you work hard all day, 40-hour work week, you want to come home, kick your feet up on a recliner, turn the TV on, and you want to kind of just unwind a little bit. You want to relax. And that being said, doing the work for the ministry, like Ephesians 4 states, is that if you don't work for the ministry, you come back home and you come back home to your church family and you recover. You rest in this. You rest in the moment of hearing what God wants, what God has to hear, what God has instilled on Brother Nathan for you to hear. It's important for us to be filled with worship. Is to come in and to worship Christ. And that's the beautiful thing about that rest. I know Stacy can relate to this. We both worked at church camps, summer camps, day in and day out, all summer long, Monday through Friday, even on Saturdays and Sundays. There's no rest. You've got to clean. You've got to prepare for next Monday, and so it's a constant over and over and over again. And so by week 2, by week 3, we're exhausted. we're tired. We don't want to do anything else. In fact, we're a little ill about it. But guess what? When we see those kids come up on the mountain by Wednesday, by Thursday, and you see them accept Christ, man, that's the joy that fills you. That fills your cup back up, and you want to keep going again. Sure, you're gonna cry about it, because I believe we're all gonna cry about work every now and then. But once you see the benefit of what Christ is doing, man, that cup will genuinely will flow over, and you can't help not return and get it again. And for us to come back and to recover, it's important. I know, like Austin and Anna, they're in the working field and the nursing field, and for having people come in and hurting and you know, in need of help, they just don't say, well, sorry, no, you just gotta leave. No, what they do is, like, they help them no matter what. They're going to put them on a road of recovery and allow them to get well. And for us to look at Timothy and look at Epaphroditus, again, Paul chose them. Paul chose them to send this letter to the church. And so what we have to look at, and we need to be Timothy and Epaphroditus. We have to go out and to tell others. We're on a mission. Like I stated in one, God sends, number two, God sends out from us. And so if we don't go out, then people will not know who Christ is. And this is the basic, elementary of the gospel, is to go. Therefore, all nations, baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We've just got to go. And I think we mud this up so many times. And it's so simple. It's because just do it. Me being prepared and going to Haiti. Financially, it's not smart, but I believe Christ wanted me and Shelby to do this. And so we're going to go. I think it's important that we can't allow finances to hinder us to do that. And I'm just going to be honest, this whole year, it's been rough. I just got married in March. And it's just like, you know, and so it's the point where we just have to truly and faithfully trust in Christ in many areas. But for me personally, it was the aspect of being financially faithful to Christ. And I don't want to get into deep details, but for me, just to get a little personal, is that tithing was really hard for me. It was difficult. Me being raised in a church, but my mom and dad never taught me what tithing really meant, and never understand the importance of tithing. But I see it now. It's not the fact that I give and I get back. No, it's the fact that God already gave it to me. God already gave it to me. He allows me to work, and the least I can do is just give it back to Him just a little bit. And I think that's really important. And I believe true-heartedly and true faithfully, like at the end of the month, Shelby's like, "How do we make it?" And I said, "Baby, I don't know. But God is in control, and God is faithful through those things." And that's the beautiful thing of the recovery stage of having people to love you. And it's so neat to be 4 or 5 years where we were then, where we are now, and getting prepared to move out into the new building. It takes a vision, one person to have a vision, and for us to grab a hold of that vision and to just follow that person. Sure, there's some things that we may not agree on at all times, but let's just be real. If it involves a lot of people, everybody's not going to agree on it. They're not. But that's okay. That's okay. I think we need to understand that if that God gave that person a vision, then we need to trust that. Timothy and Epaphroditus trusted Paul. And I think we should be like that. We have to trust. We have to trust in the vision and trust what God has in store for us. And so, lastly, my closing statements is that Paul had a vision. He discipled and they went. Robbie Gallagher tweeted this last week, and I retweeted it. It says, "You haven't made a disciple until they have made a disciple. Replication is essential for disciple making." Yeah. Replication is essential for disciple making. So we have a choice to make. If we choose to live for Christ, we have to first be a disciple. Secondly, we have to make disciples. And lastly, this involves all effort, because spiritual progress involves effort. It involves the momentary action of getting up and doing something. I know I love watching TV as much as everybody else. I also love kicking my feet up and turning the tube on every now and then. But Christ needs us. Christ desperately needs us to go. Because if not, we haven't made a disciple yet, because they haven't made a disciple. You see, I know for me, being a youth pastor and seeing kids come in and go, because they get so distracted by things around them and they're not grasping the whole what this really means, is because I am trying to disciple them, but yet they have to make a decision to disciple someone. And so that replication part is important. Because guess what? If you replicate, that means the church will grow. And if the churches grow, that means we'll send out more. And if we send out more, they'll come and want to worship together as a family. And so replication is important. And so again, spiritual progress involves effort. It involves effort. And so it's a neat picture to look at Timothy and Epaphroditus, and then Paul allowing them to take this letter to the church, and for us to look at this again through 19 through 30, is that we need to understand that Paul, Timothy, and Epaphroditus are just like us. We have the ability to be leaders. We have the ability to be servants. And hopefully one day, maybe you can be a Paul. Maybe one day you can be a Timothy. And maybe one day you can be an Epaphroditus. But we all, like I said, and I've said it over and over again, is that we have to go, because spiritual progress involves effort. Let's pray.